Oh, you made it. Fantastic. And as you and I both know, every snowboarder worth their salt wants to have the board feel like it's squirting down the mountain on ball bearings. So in this video, we'll be showing you how to hot wax your snowboard, giving you that little bit of extra competitive edge, or even just the freedom of feeling you're on the mountain to enjoy in the first place. At some point, if you ride enough, having someone else wax your board, or even just sitting in the shop waiting for your board to get waxed, becomes a pain in the ass. You'll eventually want to do it yourself. And with a little practice, you get pretty good at it. Now the natural question you should be asking is, how long is this going to take? Well, the process doesn't take too long, maybe a half an hour or so. But you will need some specialized tools. First thing you'll need is an iron to melt the wax, some wax of course, some isopropyl alcohol to clean the base of the snowboard, a scraper to take off excess wax, a buff pad or a buff brush. And we'll show you how to use each of those here shortly. Now hang on.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Don't just run out and grab Mama's clothes iron and start getting it all full of snowboard wax. On the list of bad ideas, that's somewhere here up near the top, so don't do that. You can go down to Walgreens or Walmart or Wally World or apparently any store that starts with a W, and you can get a travel iron for not too much cash, about half the amount you'll spend on a burger and fries down in California, as I'm told. Now, one of the things you want to do is look for a travel iron that doesn't have any steam holes. Something like this. This will get you a long ways. They're pretty inexpensive. And there's a reason for that, of course. Now, a proper waxing iron that you'd use on either skis or snowboard comes in a number of different price points, as you would expect. These guys have a thicker piece of metal here on the base so that it takes the temperature and it regulates so it's a much more consistent, even temperature as you're doing the wax. Now, when it comes to temperature, you're going to want to set it at about 200 degrees. You're going to want the iron hot enough to easily melt the wax, but you don't want to see any smoke in there. No, not that kind of smoke. Yeah, none of that. You don't want to see any of that. The smoke's going to indicate that you're too hot and you're burning the wax itself. So it will take away the performance characteristics of the wax if it gets burned. So go ahead and turn your iron on. While that's warming up, you can reach right down there and click the like button. All right, so we're going to take our isopropyl alcohol. Not that alcohol. No. Yeah, that stuff. We want to put it on our rag. Take a paper towel will do just fine. What we're going to do is we're going to wipe this base down so that it takes off any dirt, dust, greasy residue. I don't know why you'd have grease on there, but you never know. The last thing we want to do is have dirt on our base when we go to heat it up and bake those contaminants into the base of the board. And we'll set this in the garbage can. Today we're going to be using Hurdle's hot sauce. A sliver of this gets used during the waxing process, so this will last you a lot of applications. Okay, so now that it's warm, we're going to hold this guy straight to the surface, and you'll see it'll start to, I'm going to tilt it a little bit so it drips off the corner, and we're going to start running that all over the board. A little goes a long ways, and it'll take a little bit of experience to determine how much is enough. Now set your wax aside. We're going to work on one section of the board at a time, a section being as big as you choose. Okay, bigger than that. Yeah, okay, whatever. And just keep moving around slowly. You don't want to stop because you're not trying to burn the base of the board. You just want to get it warm and melt the wax into the board. I'm seeing reflection of the light off the board, and I can tell when the wax is fully melted and gone into the base. Now make sure you get all the way down the front of the board and the tail of the board. You want to cover the whole thing, especially if you're in an area that gets knee-deep powder. You want to make sure the front of the board and the tail of the board, the shovel, is covered nicely and scraped off nicely. Okay, now that we have the board cooled off, we're going to scrape off all the extra wax that doesn't need to be there. At the microscopic level, the board's base has pores, it has holes in it. We just filled all of the holes with wax, and what we're going to do now is scrape off all the wax that doesn't need to be there so that you're left with a nice smooth base ready to rip down the mountain. So our scraper, it's plastic, so we want to make sure the plastic has basically sharp edges, but it is plastic, so I mean it's not like you can cut your steak with it. But do not use a metal scraper. If you have a metal scraper off kilter at all, you can dig into the base and damage the base of the board. So we're going to use a plastic scraper that is fairly new. So we're going to press down. I'm going to put my thumbs in the middle here, and I'm going to pull towards me. You'll hear a lot of people say that you need to scrape tip to tail. If you are a competitive racer, I think there may be something to that. I want to keep scraping until no more wax, and I'm putting a little bit of pressure here. I'm probably putting 7-8 pounds of pressure on that edge, scraping off any wax that doesn't need to be there. This is a nice smooth surface. I've got some scratches in the base from riding in springtime. Scratches are all filled up now. You can't even feel them. I can see them, but I can't feel them. So keep scraping till they are entirely smooth and all the extra wax is off the board. And we're going to do the same thing on the tail.
Some folks who tell you to scrape the wax away from you instead of toward you. I always felt that was a little bit awkward to me, and to be honest, I've never really noticed any difference in the performance of the board doing it either way.
The final step, we're going to take our bristle brush. Notice these are very short bristles. They're pretty soft, you know, but being as short as they are, they have a little bit of resistance. Push it along the board, and what this does is it builds structure into the last bits of wax that are in there. So as your board is cruising along the mountain, it's riding on a sheet of water. What we're doing is putting grooves, small grooves in the base of the wax, and that gives the water a channel with which to flow. Wax comes in different formulations for different temperatures. The colder the snow, the more you need specialized wax that will handle snow that doesn't melt as easily as it does in the springtime. And there we have it.
Bingo.